Hi guys, welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to get on the RM in the box. I call it that because it's just a bunch of parts. I've never had the bike. I've got a few parts here. I've got some from some other places. I got a few off eBay, and I know I'm going to need a lot more. But a lot of this I think I can make, or just make do with something else. But we're going to try to stay with the RM theme, and this is it's a 78.5 RM250 C2. So it's the mid-year model. They bumped the horsepower 4 or 5 horse. They put the aluminum swing arm on. Just did a lot of little improvements like that. It was, from what I understand, I had a buddy that bought one the same time I bought my RM400. We bought them together at the same time, and he just loved his. I was going to buy one, and I just for some reason decided to buy the 400. And I was always happy I did. I really liked that bike, and it was in great shape, and I sold it about 15 years ago, and I kicked myself in the butt ever since. I wished I hadn't sold it. I wished I could find it. I'd try to buy it back, but it's probably long gone, either been parted out or somebody's put it in a collection or something. I imagine. I don't know. It was in great shape. When I look at all the stuff that I'm dealing with on this one, there was nothing wrong with the one I had. And anyhow, I'm going to go over a little bit of the stuff that I need, some of the stuff I've got to repair, and we're actually going to get started on the frame a little bit today. I don't know how much of that I'm going to get done, because it looks like it's pretty intensive. So let's get down there, and well, let's start up on this end at the bench. I'll look at the engine I've got a little bit, and then we'll go down to the frame. Okay, this is supposedly the cylinder. It's from what I understand, and thanks James for the help on identifying this stuff. From what I understand, the C2 has got the slots here in the head or the cylinder, but also does the 76, but they look a little different. But the 76 had a 70 millimeter bore, and the 77 up to 85.5 had a 67 millimeter bore. So this one, it measures like 68, I think. So it's had a overbore a couple times, and I did notice that I've got two cylinders. I've got an early one, probably a 77, and if you look in here, this one in the intake, you can't see it. Let me get a light. Okay, on this one, you can look right in here, and it's got a couple of finger ports that on the intake, the lower part of the intake kind of bumps up a little bit. Those are not present on the earlier models that I've seen. So that, I think, is one thing that denotes this. And I'm also seeing this here. It's on the bottom part of the sleeve. It's got a 90 or a 3593. I think you might be able to see that. And that's not present on the other one either. So maybe that denotes that also. I'm not sure. If anybody can enlighten me on some of that stuff, I'd sure appreciate it. So that's where we're at on the cylinder. Now we get over to the lower end, and I've checked the serial number of this and the serial number of the frame, and they both are C2s according to the numbers. If you look right here, we've got a lot of pitting in the rod, So the rod's we're gonna have to change the rod out, put a new bearing in. I've already got one from Venco, so we'll be getting into this pretty soon. And this has got a little break here, but I don't think it's going to cause any issue. I chased that, and I've gone ahead and put a bolt in it, so I think this is going to be okay. But the one thing I'm going to have to repair is right here. The dog point screw was missing here. This one right here when I got it. And you know, I can't blame the people. You know, if you didn't put a screw in it and test it, you wouldn't have known, because it looks like good threads in there. Well, they're a little flat, but not too bad. But anyhow, you can't tighten it up. So we'll be putting a helicoil in here. I've got my kit set in here. That'll be one of the first things we do, because we're going to delve into this pretty quick, and we've got a lot of different things we need to do to this. Now, another problem you might know is right back here above the Kickstarter. There's a chunk missing here, and that seal will probably never seal. So I'm going to try to weld this up. Now, these are magnesium, so I've never welded magnesium, not that I remember anyway. And I think I would have remembered, because the rod is terribly expensive. I just ordered a pound of rod and it was $120. So we'll be making a mandrel to put into this. We'll pull the seal out, put the mandrel in that we make that'll just fit this, and then attempt to weld this. And you know, I've done some research on this, and a lot of people say, oh, it's power sensitive or something like that, where it burns, and it does, but not if you TIG weld it, because when you're TIG welding, you're putting a inert gas around it, so it won't ignite. The thing that really can ignite is chips or powder, you know, sanding powder or whatever. That kind of stuff can ignite, and you sure as heck don't want to put water on it if you get a fire, because that's just like adding gasoline to it. So anyhow, I've done some research on that. I've ordered my rod, should be here in a day or two, and we'll be welding some magnesium here. I hope everything else is okay. I do have a couple of spots over on this side. I think it's just one right here. If that goes good on that one, then I'll attempt to go ahead and restore this stud. But as far as I know, this is complete except for a shift rod. And from what I understand, I've run into this before. I actually fixed one, and I didn't have one when I bought this. It didn't come with it. It didn't come with this case either. I had to find the case. I had to find the shift rod, even though it's a junk one. So let's go take a look at that. Okay, here's the shift shaft, and these things are notorious. Almost all the Suzukis of this time were like this. They'd strip the splines off on the shifter, and you know, I have to say that it's probably not all Suzuki's fault. A lot of people let these get too loose, and it just doesn't hold it tight enough, and it works until it strips them out. But you can see here where they'd put a screw in it or something. That's kind of common practice. But I've already made one of these new, and I'm able to put the splines on and heat treat the shaft so that it won't happen again. So we'll be doing that to this one. And this one is a little different than the other one. Looks like it's pinned right here where I can just drive the pin out and take the shaft out. The other one I had to grind off back here and then re-weld it after I made the shaft. But anyhow, we'll be doing that. And if you're interested in something like that, just look up. I don't know. It's been probably a year ago where I rolled on new splines and made a. I think I cut it right here, and cut this down, and then put a hole in this side and stuck them together with an interference fit when welded them. But I can't remember for sure. But it's in my. I think I've got a playlist on it. If not, it's in with the videos. So that'll be one of the first things we do when we get into the engine. Okay, I do have wheels and hubs. This one, it was sold to me as a 250, but the hub seems to be too small for the backing plate that I have for a 250. This one measures, let's see, what did I do with all that? The one that I think is a 125, the one I've got is 140 millimeters, and the one I need is 150 millimeters. I may have one, I don't know, I'll have to see, but that's a problem right now. Okay, we've got the forks, front axle, a carburetor. I've gotten some small parts already. I've got the frame mounts for the engine and a few other little parts there, and bearings for the steering head, rear brake cable, a front brake cable, and I've got a clutch cable coming, I think. So anyhow, that leaves us with the frame basically. Let's see. Oh, I also do have some ignition for that. Not sure what I did with it right now. Okay, here they are in here. I've got two ignitions. Here's the cover. I bought from my buddy Kevin Bergeron a couple years ago. He had several of these, and I bought a package deal from him. Here's the back plate, a backing plate that I found on eBay. So hopefully that's the correct one, and we'll just see where it goes from there. Okay, now we're looking at the frame, and the weather's been nice enough that I was able to get out and sandblast this. So I've got some little cracks like here. The other side you can see is cracked through. This side was cracked and welded with a not so great weld. And somebody somewhere put a skid plate of sorts on it. And I really don't think I want that on there because it's put on, I mean, it was welded good. You can see here that it was welded continuously. I just think that's it's just asking for a crack. So I'm going to try to get that skid plate off there. I'm going to have to cut it very high up into the plate and then grind it down off of the tubing very, take my time. And I see right here where it looks like it's probably been blown through, so I'll probably have to fix that. And let's see, there's on the foot peg on this side, you can see that it was done in the same fashion. This, I think, is original piece, but that looks all wallered out, so that's going to have to be changed too. So this is a different size, it's a different thickness. So we're going to have to completely redo the peg mount on this side. And I don't know, there's no brake pedal for this. I know they're supposed to have a piece that mounts in right here. and I think I found one, but I'm not sure. So, and I did find some pegs, and again, here's you can see the crack here. It's been just tacked. I think I tacked that just to keep it from coming apart. But as you can see, and there's the crack on that one there, we've got quite a bit of repair to do to the frame. So this is like the foundation of the house. You got to get this right before you do anything else. So this is what we're going to start on today. Okay, I'm going to start with a plasma cutter and just try to cut it and stay away from the frame tubing, and try to get the majority of that out of there. Had a little still stuck. There we go. Yeah, so there's the majority of it right there. Got it out, and most of this, I'm going to try to get some of it off with the plasma, but I want to stay away from the frame, so a lot of this will be ground off. So that allows me to cut the welds instead of, because I've got welds here on the inside too. So what I'm going to try to do is cut down this way with the with a cut-off wheel and the grinder, and then I'll finish out by grinding what's left off. It's going to take a while. Okay, we've got it pretty well cut off. I'll have to go in with my little 2-inch grinder and finish it off. It's just, it's a real tedious job from now, because you don't want to remove any any wall thickness from the tubing. So that's going to take me quite a while to take care of that. I just want to show you here. Probably the reason they put this on is because it looked like the frame cracked right here around the engine boss. So we'll be cutting this tube somewhere and putting a tube inside of it and putting rosette welds on both sides or something like that to repair it. But I just want to show you here how as I weld this, or not weld it, as I grind it, I'm starting to lift up that piece that was under there. And that way it leaves just the welds to remove and not the metal that they put in there. So as I grind along there, you can just kind of see it where it's separating, and we can just go in there and start lifting it up. But I've got to continue to thin it out down here, so it eliminates a little bit of what you've got to unweld, So just as you go along, you can kind of see that starting to, it'll turn blue. It'll kind of turn blue, and then you can see the crack form. So I think you can see it there now. You can see the cracks just kind of forming right along where the weld got into the plate. See, they're splitting off now. That eliminates a lot of what you've got to grind off. See if we can hurry it up a little bit here. So you can see it cracking up ahead of it there. I think I'm going to have to remove a little more there, I think. And on the other side. Yeah. Just got to work at it slow. There's that one. So that just leaves the welds. See, I had it welded on the inside too, which is fine, but you just can't get in there with the plate there. You couldn't get in there, so that's why I cut it out in the middle first. So now it'll be a lot easier to see where I'm at and to keep from going too far. But here's where it was broken, so we're going to have to separate that and put a piece of tubing inside it, and then we'll drill holes in the original tubing to rosette weld it on each end, and then weld everything back up. So there's a piece that, see, we would have had to grind all that out, and if you just kind of watch the edge as you're grinding, you can tell it starts turning blue and cracking, and then you just keep after it until you've got enough to get under it with a chisel. Just kind of getting it started on this end. I've got probably quite a bit more to grind before I can really start seeing where it's going to separate on me. It's all about just kind of going slow. If you get into the power too quick, you can either pop the weld up out of the tube, which would leave a hole, or you could dig into it with your air chisel. So you got to be careful. Moving on up. They're breaking ahead of it there. Grind it a little more. Like we got a little bit more need to do right down here at the end. Just don't want to hurry it. There it is. Looks pretty raunchy under there, but I think it's just rust from on the inside of that plate. It's a long, drawn-out process. Okay, so this side's pretty much done, and we just got to start on this side. And on this side, this rusty stuff was just pretty much just rust, surface rust. Came right off, has very little depth to it. Most of what you're seeing there is just the jagged edge of the weld. This is where it was broke back here, and they didn't even line the tubes up. So hopefully I can pull that up with some vice grips or something and get that back together. You can see here on the back side, I think, where it wasn't even put back together. So hopefully we'll be able to pull that in. And the next spot, I think, is the foot peg. You can kind of see there, I think. This, like I said before, this piece here has been added on. This is probably original, and this, but it's all cobbled up there. So we'll start a little surgery in there and try to get that off of there and see where the original starts and the replacement starts begins. Sorry guys, got my hose underneath it. I don't think I'd wanted to have my foot pegs or my feet in that. Okay, that's, I think the original. We'll probably replace that whole piece, but that's, I kind of need it there to get the right orientation. This one's actually ahead of this one over here a little bit, but I think it's supposed to be, because this all looks original here. So we'll just, when we get the new one made, we'll make it in a U so it's all one piece and weld it on there. But I think that I think it's located properly. You know, if to be where the other one is, it would have to be back here, the whole thing, and I don't think that's right. You know, the weld up here on top looks original to me, you know, right along here. Not the greatest welds in the world, but they kept them together for most of us. This guy must have been a pretty hard rider. We've got, you know, I think what I'm going to do is probably replace this whole tube. It's, I don't have, this is just a little shy of 1 inch. I don't have a 1-inch bender, and yeah, I still don't have my 7/8 either. You know, I guess they're running behind building them or something. but the 1" should be available. It's more common, but I'm going to have to get that in order to get this, because we'll probably just cut it out right here. And I don't know, I'd like to go back here so it's underneath the support here for the kickstand, but I may not do it. We may just have to bring it back to somewhere in here and then put a reinforcement around it or something, and a piece inside. We'll see. Just not sure what I'm going to do yet. But anyhow, that I think was the last thing that I needed to get done. You know, we had this one here. This is no big deal back here. I should be able to pull that together and get it, just tack it back on. It's a seat support. And I guess it has something to do with the shock here too. But other than that, and the bottom, I think we are okay. You know, one side, this side here is the broken one. This one here is okay. Okay, let's start with probably the easiest thing to fix. See, they didn't even try to pull this back in line. So that's the big improvement that we can do, is to try to bring it back in line. And then let me get set up and we'll go ahead and weld over here. Okay, here's this one welded up, and our bracket down here. So now we're going to turn our attention to making another foot peg bracket, and that'll go on the other side. And once I get it made, then I'll go ahead and cut off the other piece on the other side. And this will be for another day. I think what I'm going to do is replace this whole tube up to underneath here, so I can use this bracket to help support this end. And I'll just bend another tube and we'll attach it here and back here, and we'll put a tube inside of it back here. Piece of 3/4 DOM will go in there. It'll go right inside the 1" stuff. So that'll give that great support back there with that tube in there, plus this bracket. And then we'll just mount the engine in here and find out the location for this and tack it while the engine's in. Okay, I'm not going to make this in one piece. It's going to be two pieces that will be welded together in the bottom. So the tab will come up on both sides, and I think that's the easiest. I can't, if I bend one piece, I can't get in there and bend the other one that close together. So this is kind of my option. And I'm going to cut these just a little long so I can make them look as factory as I can. So the first thing I've done here is I've just marked it, and I'm going to take it over and bend it, and then we'll cut it off. Got it over here on my brake, and try to get this, hopefully you can see that. Try to get that in there semi-square. Oops. All right, I think we are. Let's see what we can do. There you go. Okay, so we've got our 90 on there, and we'll just cut that. Everything is just about an inch on these. I'm sure it's metric, but I was looking around to see if I could use some inch square tubing, and it just wasn't working out quite right. So this should be very close to original as far as thickness, width, height, yeah, all that. So now we'll cut it. Okay, so here's the original one still on here. So what this will be like is just like this, and that's just about perfect for where this one comes up. What we'll do is we'll V these out right here almost all the way through so that it will be actually welded to this in the middle. And then we'll probably put some on both sides. I don't think they put it here, but we may do it anyway just to stiffen it up. But what we can do now is go ahead and drill our holes. Hopefully we can get those in about the right place. This one's really wallowed out, so I think I'm going to turn it over and try to get my hole dimension location from the unmolested side. Okay, so I'm just setting this one up here, and I'm strapping it to the back side. The hole should be in the same location no matter what side. And we've got that, I've got it leveled with the bottom of the other one, or with that one. And hopefully I can just stick my transfer punch through here. And try to get a mark right there. There we go. So we've got our mark right here. So I should be able to take these two and, well, really I ought to have that on the other side, hadn't I? Yeah, I'm gonna have to relocate it on the other side. Let's see, that makes it a little more difficult. Okay, I'll drill this one, and then I'll set this up, and then drill right through the hole again. Okay, I've set them both up here now so I can transfer that hole to the other side. And we'll go ahead and give that taper to them. See, one thing that we're going to run into, I'm not sure whether you can see it, but right in here looks like it's got a spot weld, and there may be two. This is the good side here. I can make out one for sure, but I think maybe there's two. And I go to the other side of this thing, and I'm seeing this one here. So I'll probably try to drill that out just to make sure, and then I'll cut what I can cut along here and back here. Cut whatever weld I can, and then I'll try to get under it with the air chisel. Okay, we'll find out pretty quick, but there was one there. We'll find out if there's another one. I'm going to see if I can get under that thing and get it started. Don't know whether I've cut enough weld yet or not. It's still fastened somewhere. All right, there's that. All right, I've got some marks back here to where those go. So now these will go. Let's see, how'd that thing go on there? Holes up. So that'll be like this. Welded down the middle. I think I'm going to wait until I get the foot pegs before I weld them on. I just want to make sure everything's the way they should be. But I think that was right. Let me get this other one if it's cooled down enough. Because it went this way. There's the hole. So that's right. So it goes like this. so those should be along here in a day or two, and we'll go on with this part of it. But this is where what we're down to is the foot peg repair, and then the major repair underneath here. Okay guys, there you have it. Little introduction to RM in the box, and starting on some frame repairs. We've got most of the easy ones done. I had to order a die for 1 inch. So when I get that in, and it's available, they say, Summit Racing's got it, and it should be here Friday, I think. So we'll see if that happens, and I've got the tubing already, and we should be able to just go ahead and cut that piece out, bend another one, put it in there. I mean, it's not going to be as easy as I just said it is, but that's the gist. And anyhow, the frame repairs, we'll get those done. Then we'll move on to some assembly and fitting things and so on and so forth. But RM in a box is probably going to be quite a lengthy project, and there'll probably be some dwell time because, you know, I'm just going to have to be on the hunt for a lot of parts. And, you know, if anybody has got any knowledge that they want to share about what I've showed you already, like the cylinder and stuff, how I tried to explain it, if I didn't explain it right, or if you can add something to it, man, I'd sure appreciate it, because it sure doesn't seem to be a whole lot of information out there. And I thought I knew quite a bit about Suzuki RMs, but what I do know is that they change stuff almost every year. And that's, you can't, you know, it seems like very few things that you know, if you're working on a 78, can you use a 79 part for. It's just that bad. And we saw that also when I was doing the 125 RM crankshaft. The man was trying to find a crank. It was a 1.5 or 2 years crank only, and they just weren't out there. So we ended up, you know, if you've been watching, you know what we ended up having to do to repair that crankshaft. Anyhow, hey, thanks for going along on the ride, and we'll see you next video.